reading about bad things.
Let's be real honest here.
Hey, my phone screen looks less purple.
Wow, how come your phone screen? Well, also,
looks normal.
this is hilarious. But yeah, your phone screen is normal.
What's hilarious?
The head that you're holding isn't in the phone. It is part of just the background.
Yeah,
well, that's because it's the background.
Yeah.
The background of the picture is the fucking background of her camera.
Look at that. It's so funny.
It's just a smaller.
You're just holding a smaller Abby.
There are things we know, but there are also the ones we don't know.
You deserve the truth.
We have a real interesting topic today.
Maybe we have to record a podcast?
Yeah, I know.
What's a pod cats?
There are a bunch of swine who want us to provide them with something called a podcast.
With entertainment, with edutainment.
Jack, did you just call our audience a swine?
No. Anyway,
what the hell are you waiting for?
We're going to be talking about the Philippines today. Do you guys know anything about the Philippines? Because I kind of don't.
My friend Carlos is from there.
I guess.
Yeah.
They're an island?
Yeah.
Country?
They've got vanilla.
The
capital is vanilla.
The capital is vanilla. Their largest export is those folders that you use to store documents. The manila folder.
Carlos says his hometown has pirates and sharks.
That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
It like a Disney ride?
I guess that's what the Visayas are.
Sure. Yeah, so the Philippines is like a chain of something like 7,000 islands. Just north of Indonesia, where our buddy Sukarno is from, and just south of Taiwan, which I am obligated because the People's Republic of China sponsors us to say is a part of China.
No, it's really fucking not.
It's sovereign Chinese soil.
Do you hear me, China? Do you hear me?
You hear me, President Xi? I said it.
You're gonna cry, China.
Guys, we're gonna be blocked from China now.
Oh,
darn. What are y'all problem with that?
Oh
no!
That's like 2 billion people who aren't going to see us.
China! No! They blocked us! That means we're cool, Brad.
That does mean we're cool.
This was because I want President Xi Jinping to give me a medal. Come on.
Yeah,
I want him
you
to
have all those
recognize
posters
me.
of him on your walls.
Yeah, I have all those posters of Xi Jinping and Chairman Mao all over the walls.
I want to see all the Chinese leaders, but they're in a boy band poster.
Oh no, they all look like
a K-pop boy band poster.
K-pop boy band poster, and
yes,
it's there's the sassy one, there's the sweet one, there's the bad boy, there's the nice boy.
Hey, you know what there's not in that band? Sparrows. Okay, whatever.
Sorry, what?
Because Mao.
There aren't birds in
bands. Yeah, because Mao killed
all
the
sparrows to be killed.
Yeah, because they were eating the crops.
Because the sparrows were eating the crops. Which
that could be its own episode.
He blamed that for causing a famine, but it was actually just because of bad management and no rain. And so what happened is sparrows eat grasshoppers, so the grasshoppers became swarming locusts, which actually did cause a famine.
Well, that's terrible and hilarious.
It's kind of like the Simpsons joke where they release the apes to kill the snakes, and they have to bring tigers to kill the apes.
All right, so a little bit more about the Philippines.
Oh yeah.
The Philippines have been over the past couple hundred years controlled by mostly not them.
Yes.
The Spanish first in from
Spain
the 1500s to the end of the 1800s
until 1898.
Yeah, because the Spanish-American War, we scooped up their colonies.
Yep, and then let's see. Oh, this is a very long section on Wikipedia. American rule. Yes. That was until 1946. It says.
It does. So I'm going to get into that a little bit. So the Spanish controlled it. They did very nasty things, and they kept it very poor. And then there was a Philippine rebellion just before the Spanish-American War in 1898. And then the U.S. come in 1898 and just walk over the Spanish garrison, occupy the islands pretty easily. The Filipinos declare a republic during this period, and the U.S. declares that the republic is not a republic, and lands 50,000 troops to fight a counterinsurgency.
As one does.
And it was a very cleanly fought war with no atrocities on either side.
And I'm sure because the islands, all the soldiers were riding on dolphins.
Yeah, no, they were riding dolphins.
The
between-
dolphin
between
riders of
dolphin
the
cavalry.
Philippines.
Yeah, with their cowboy hats in the air. Someone's playing banjo in the background.
Wow.
You should be doing this, not me. And so we applied like all the stuff that we learned from the Indian Wars to the Filipinos, and the scars have lasted to this day. Anyhow, eventually we stopped doing that and built some schools and stuff. And then the Japanese showed up in 1939, and on the same day as the Pearl Harbor attacks, they bombed the American naval bases in the Philippines, and then they also invaded the Philippines. And in kind of a weird retread of the Spanish-American War, they just walked over the American garrison. And maybe you've heard of the Bataan Death March. That was part of that.
Yeah, Japan, all they had to do is be better than the Europeans and Americans, and they just couldn't swing it.
Yeah, seriously.
They could not resist doing the death marches.
They were somehow worse than like the Dutch and Americans and British.
It's like, what's the appeal of a death march?
It seems like a lot of work.
Yeah,
That's the thing. No one wins.
no one went. No one. Logistically, that just seems like so much effort to run one.
I'm glad to
Never
know
mind,
Iron
human
Age Ho
atrocity.
is anti-death march.
This podcast comes down once more on the side of not doing war crimes.
Yeah, we're really putting our opinions out there.
There's
being
one
bold.
thing that we can be consistent about. It's the
Bold,
fact that we don't
brash.
like war crimes.
Purple.
But we do like making jokes about
About
war
war
crimes.
crimes.
We don't like bad things, but we
So-
like to think that bad things are funny. So
Honestly, it's a coping mechanism.
it's a fine line. Yeah, it is.
It's that or cry in the shower, and my water heater doesn't work, so that's not an option.
Yeah, you're gonna
I
have
can
to
still
cry
do it.
outside.
Actually, I think the tears flow more easily when you're that miserable.
Like
So-
tears in rain.
The tears are
only
warmer
one
than
on
the
the outside
shower.
as I am on the inside.
So the Japanese took over in like 41.
1939, and they occupy the islands until the U.S. comes back. Now, in 1942, an organization is formed by the Filipinos called the Hukbalahap. That is short for something in Tagalog, which is their language, one of the languages, that I cannot pronounce, so I'm not even going to try.
Can you send it to me? Put it in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat. Hukbalahap is hard enough to say already.
It's very funny that that's what you mentioned because I have the Philippines Wikipedia page up over here, and I just happened to look at Hukbalahap on the screen, and then you said it, and I was like, oh
Yeah,
shit.
You look at that
Winky
word
did.
as an American who speaks English, and you're like, okay, how could
Yeah,
you
no, actually, it was
say this?
it was
What
like it's
does
like
it sound
like it's like look at the first couple of syllables and then just be like, okay, you know what, I can't.
But
Yeah, like
lucky-
me reading
lucky for you-
Connecticut and just kind of like I read like this CON and then I kind of fill the rest into my head like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, or like trying to spell Mississippi. You
Yeah.
just kind of like.
Mississippi.
You have to do the thing. Yeah.
Luckily, I became an expert in Philippine culture and the Tagalog language in the course of 3 days. So
Wow,
I know
it's impressive.
It's
we
quarantine.
can
He's
just,
bored.
We can just call them the Hucks, though. That's what the Americans called them, is the Hucks.
I'm reading that too. Yeah, this is pretty cool.
Huck me up, boy. Yeah. So it's Hukbalahap is short for like Anti-Japanese Liberation Army, and it's an anti-Japanese liberation army. They do guerrilla warfare, but it's cool because they're fighting brutal occupiers. They do some stuff that's kind of bad, like they kill people who collaborate with the Japanese. Although, is that bad?
I mean, we are talking imperialistic Japan.
Yeah, pretty brutal. They treated the Philippines really,
Yeah.
really badly.
I mean, you know, it's kill or be killed out there.
That's out on the streets.
CILL.
And sure, yeah. Thank you, Eddie Murphy. When the Americans come back in 1944 and reinvade the Philippines and start occupying the island, the Hukbalahap are overjoyed, and they collaborate with the Americans to retake their homeland, because America had actually, before the war, promised to make the Philippines independent. It was always like, yeah, next week. But it was probably going to happen. So they figured that it was definitely the lesser of two evils. And the Japanese were terrible to them, so they wanted to fight them. But the thing is that the U.S. didn't like the Hucks very much. because
Well, they were communists.
they were communists, or at least like a lot of the leadership were communists. It was kind of like a united front, but as is the case with like the Vietnamese, the Chinese United Front in this period, the large communist presence basically meant that the U.S. viewed it as a communist organization.
Well, I mean, to be fair, in that time frame, the United States would have viewed the members of Disney's High School Musical as communists because of the line "We're all in this together."
Yeah, no, that's
That would have been like, "That's communist. That's communist.
Been
Screw you guys.
blacklisted.
We are bombing you.
We
The
are
CIA is
occupying
going
Walt
to
Disney Studios.
dismantle your government. It's a student government."
You know, Troy was actually a CIA plant.
Which
That's
one
why
of
he
them
was so
a
eager
record?
to make the sports to theater crossover. Very suspicious if you think about it.
They were actually taking orders from Moscow the entire time. The High School Musical kids were hardline Marxist-Leninists.
They're like, no, it's no one sees it in the movie, but all constantly going on behind backstage, off the screen, is a dirty guerrilla war.
Oh.
People's Protracted High School War.
So the Americans are back in town. The boys are back in
Back
town.
General MacArthur said, "I will return," and then he did. So good on him.
Yeah.
Fell over. And that didn't happen in the war. That happened over there. But yeah, he comes back, and pretty much immediately while the fighting is going on, we do everything we can to not help the Hucks, to not make them look good, to make sure they don't get positions in the future government, and in some cases to kind of tell them we're going to give them air support for an attack and then not do it, that kind of thing, you know?
Ooh.
Ooh, pulling a JFK.
It gets a little
That's
JFK.
fun.
It gets a little nasty at the end.
That's
Spicy.
fucking. That's
And
bad.
so what
A lot
had
of people
been
died.
like a really friendly relationship, or at least a working relationship, very quickly sours. As the U.S. stops thinking about beating the Japanese because it's done, and they start thinking about the post-war, in which case you have to govern, and you have to have an allied state in the Philippines, and not one that might go to Moscow, or one that might want to be too terribly independent. So, in 1946, there's a referendum, and the Philippines becomes independent. There's finally a Philippine nation after 300 years. Well, actually, for the first time, because the Philippines had been a bunch of different kingdoms. And it's a democracy, and the Hucks actually win some seats. They're part of a political alliance of centrists, nationalists, liberals, generally independence-minded people who want to chart their own course away from the U.S. And pretty much immediately after the election, one of the Huck leaders, Luis Taruk, is denied his seat in Congress. He won fair, but he's not allowed in. And the other Hucks are not allowed in either.
They gave him a different address for the party.
Yeah. They told him it was in a different city.
Yeah.
Your princess is in a different castle. And President Manuel Roxas, Roxas, maybe that's Rojas? I don't know how to say that. I don't know if it's Spanish or it's Tagalog or whatever. So our Filipino buddies get in the chat and berate me for my pronunciation.
Everyone bully Jack.
Everyone bully
On
Jack.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. The bullying's begun. The president pushes through the Bell Trade Act of 1946. And what the Trade Act does is make the Philippines back into a colony, in short. American companies get, it's like enshrined in their constitution at this point, that they get access to minerals, agricultural production, labor, open markets, kind of all of the good things that you get out of a colony that allow you to pull in a lot of profit from
But
them
it was
and take
independent in
home.
name, right?
But it's independent, and they have to govern themselves. You don't have to pay to occupy them. They're not fighting you because you're not imperializing them anymore. Just a trade deal. And there's also a tight military cooperation agreement. The Philippines can only buy weapons from the U.S. There's 23 American military bases on 99-year leases. And the creation of a Philippine army, 50,000 strong, which was, let me get the quote, according to the American General William Arnold, solely for the maintenance of internal order. So, yeah.
So like a national police force almost.
But it was an army.
Well, I mean, you know, like a national police force.
They also had a national police force.
Great, so they had 2 national police forces.
Yes, they did.
Because what is the difference between...
And they,
when
they
you look at the
were,
equipment these days,
Mhm.
between an army and a police force.
Well, yeah.
More expensive... missiles. That's basically it.
Honestly, yeah, missiles.
Missiles is the artillery.
I can't wait until the police department in my town has an artillery.
Well, we had to get rid of these javelins somewhere, and where better than the hands of the men and women on that thin blue
Bring
line?
back swords. We should bring back just guards that carry swords.
I'm so down for that. Can we bring back swords?
It'd be kind of cool to have cops in like full plate, like knight armor with big 2-handed claymore swords. And
See, that's the thing is, I wanted to go back to like early Renaissance when people were still using, like, they weren't using rapiers yet, but they weren't wearing armor.
It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah,
I want crossbows. Crossbow police.
that's
Who you
a
gonna
thing you
call?
could do. That wouldn't be too hard.
Cops.
Yeah.
Just become a vigilante with a crossbow.
This year on ABC, Crossbow Cop.
Bad Boys plays in the background.
Okay, so the situation in the Philippines looked good. The war was done. There was sort of a national like rebirth and independence movement, and then it kind of gets crushed. And a bunch of compradors take over the government, and a lot of people are not happy with this. And it wouldn't be so bad, but the problem is that the government is also really corrupt and violent. So the Hucks rearm, and Louis Taruk basically takes these guys back on the warpath.
The
That's
boys were back in town.
Back
That's
in the saddle again.
Back in the saddle
Oh.
again, man. So because the government responds to the Hucks winning congressional seats by torturing, jailing, killing, and disappearing 2,000 peasant activists and leaders, they go back to the jungles and they fight a civil war which lasts until 1954. So 46 to 54. It's very nasty. The government controls the big cities and towns and some of the highways, but the Hucks more or less controlled countryside in a lot of places. And so the U.S. brings in a guy named Edward Lansdale, an American intelligence officer who's going to help the Philippine government get their shit together so they can beat the Hucks.
That's a pretty fucking 50s name there.
My name's Edward Lansdale, and I've come here from Los Angeles.
Like I can hear like Edward, oh Edward, where are you going? I'm sorry, dear, I've got to go beat down the Philippines.
You know, he was wearing a pinstripe suit under his pinstripe suit, so he's
Yeah.
always prepared.
There's
guy
another
was-
day at the office. Time to go suppress the minorities and non-whites.
Time to go do crimes. Bring me my breakfast gin and another pack of cigarettes.
I think he was a cigar man.
I see this guy as
He
being
got it
cigarettes.
any way he could. He's got a pipe. He's got cigars. He's got cigs.
Well, you know, you can put a cig in a pipe
got
and then
jewels.
kind of stick it into a cigar, and you just get all three. It's
The
science.
secret- the
He's just
CIA is
constantly
secretly-
smoking.
So this guy
breakfast
shows up
deal.
in Philippines. He's ready to go.
He shows up in 1950. So the Civil War has been going for about 4 years, and no one can really break through and win. The Hucks are still too weak to fight real battles. But the government is also too corrupt to really win the people over. So they bring in this U.S. intelligence guy to help them sort of reorganize their army. He's like a liaison with the new president, Ramon Magsaysay, and the U.S. government. And he was an Air Force intelligence officer during World War II. But he was CIA. Like the thing that he did in the Philippines was for the CIA. And later in French Indochina, fighting Ho Chi Minh. So this
Like
guy's
just-
everywhere.
Like just fisticuffs.
Fisticuffs.
Back on back.
Yeah, the reason
Straight back. Bareback.
Well, yeah, you just
boxing.
roll up your sleeves, and you and Ho Chi Minh it just.
Come here, Ho Chi. We're gonna settle this like men.
Yeah,
Wait, hold on. I need a pipe.
yeah, you got to have either a candy cigarette or a pipe. Oh, and the critical thing about this guy that's really interesting and that tells you everything about what's about to happen, this guy was an ad man. He was an advertising.
Jesus
executive
Christ! I'm now imagining
in Los
Don
Angeles
Draper.
before World War II.
JD.
He was Don Draper.
JD, we're bringing up Mad Men again. JD's
What the
favorite
fuck?
show.
He's triggered.
Fuck that show.
Yo, it's a good show, man. Don Draper's a good role model.
Fuck those dudes. Oh my god. They helped Richard Nixon get elected.
No, they didn't. They helped him lose against JFK. Watch the first fucking episode, idiot.
I remember and then being like, wow, I hate everyone on the show.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
All of them. I don't like watching shows where I don't like the people on it. It's like, why don't I watch Game of Thrones? I don't like watching shows that are just like, wow, what a terrible source material. The 1950s.
Yeah.
Anything that George R. R. Martin writes.
Oh, no, Game of Thrones they're good books. They're fine.
So Don Draper shows
books.
up in the Philippines. He's
So
ready
Don
to go
Draper-
in the beach.
He
shows up
he's
ready to
sleeping
do
with women,
two
and that
things.
makes no sense.
Ready to do two things. One, cheat on his wife, and two, destroy the Huck insurrection.
Cheat on his wife with Huck?
Yeah, he banged Louis Taruk. Now he just helped found an office called the Civil Affairs Office.
And as we know, things with really vague names are always bad.
Yes, this is. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And they worked with Ramon Magsaysay, who was the new Philippine president. Big air quotes around president, because there was no opposition in Congress, because they were not allowed into Manila. Yes, they did some research into Philippine culture. Previous American liaisons who worked with the Philippine government figured that they could just train the army, and that they could just coordinate airstrikes and material flows and stuff to just beat the Hucks on the battlefield. Well, that didn't work. So they brought in an ad man. And the reason why America is so successful in the post-war is literally because of the advertising agency. We had this cultural thing of advertising that wasn't so common in other countries. So we had guys like this who knew how to do market research. They knew how to do propaganda, because that's kind of what advertising is. It's propaganda for a brand.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make you believe in whatever, that's
Propaganda, yeah.
They're trying to make you think that when you get thirsty, what do you want? A Coke.
I was gonna say Sprite, so
Okay.
Killer.
and-
Killer. Killer.
No.
He's outside the system.
press the button.
Cut her mic! Cut her fucking mic!
I'm in podcast jail.
Back
With my
sight now.
Sprite.
Oh, disgusting. Should put it.
I
back
hope
on.
you like Guantanamo.
Oh, I can drink lots of Cuba Libres. Oh, but those have Coke. Go on.
Yeah. Anyway, even though Abby's bad, we're gonna still keep doing the podcast. So he helped invent the concept of the PsyOps, which is where instead of beating the enemy on the battlefield, you beat him in the brain. Yeah, right in the dome piece.
Use your brain powers. Ooh.
Yeah. So the concept is psychological warfare. You get in the enemy's head and you make them scared, and you hurt their morale so they don't want to fight as hard. And then you go to the common people of the countryside where the rebels live, and you convince them to not support the rebels. Okay, well, how do you do this? We tried it in Iraq. It didn't work. We called it Hearts and Minds. In the Philippines, though, this worked extremely well because Lansdale was a fucking maniac. They did some research on Philippine culture, and they discovered that a lot of the rural peasants were very uneducated and very superstitious. So what they did at first is they took like a little Cessna plane, slapped some loudspeakers on it, and then flew through the cloud cover above rural areas where the Hucks were active. So they were hidden in the clouds in this plane, and they yelled curses in Tagalog. They yelled very terrifying curses that I guess sounded magical because big booming voice out of the clouds, saying that if you gave material support to the Hucks, that you would basically be damned.
I like to think that they use those exact words. Like, it directly translates to, if you give material support to the Hucks, like, you're like, fuck you.
You are going to hell. Hell
Fuck
is
a
the
Huck. I mean,
destination
damn.
for which you are bound.
They like flew over all these rural areas and fucking gave like 1 million people the evil eye all at once.
Well, it's like the opposite of every once in a while in Louisiana, someone will put, like, a priest will fill a plane with holy water, like a crop duster, and just bless, like, he'll bless a whole county. That happens, like, I wouldn't say regularly there, but it's like that, but bad.
Like, that actually
What's
makes
new?
sense, though. If you believe in the power of holy water, then why wouldn't you just want to crop dust? Just to make sure that nothing unholy is walking around. we have decided to spray
A blank slate.
magical holy bleach over it all.
Holy water jewel at church.
This week's forecast is holy water rain.
I'm waiting for the office of the White House to tell us to inject holy water to kill the coronavirus.
Oh god.
Keeping it topical, folks.
Yeah.
3 months. When
Well, if you kept it topical, actually, you'd just be rubbing the holy water into your skin.
Oh.
I would already have a drip bag in my background.
Oh,
I would have one.
like
I would
to-
have one for bleach, one
Yeah, your
for
Lysol
hydroxychloroquine. I would just be snorting lines of zinc, and I would be like I don't know, like smearing holy water everywhere.
You'd be clean, and you would just have.
I'd be
You
dying.
would have not a single malaria in your system.
I'd be so fucking dead.
So they damned these towns with cloud planes.
Yeah, they cloud damned them. And personally, I'm not sure because it worked because there was a notable decrease in like public support for the Hucks. They had a harder time buying food.
Yeah, because
They
it's
had a harder time
creepy.
recruiting.
I don't want the
It's
clouds to
creepy.
yell at me.
Yeah, man. And so, did they really convince all these people that demons and devils were like cursing them from the sky against the godless commies? Maybe some of them, some grandmas and fishwives, maybe. But I think most people were just like, "Holy shit, they're flying above us, yelling at us. So, I don't want to get involved."
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't like being yelled at.
You know, I think that's the most terrifying thing. It's just the reminder that like they could just fly over and fuck you over. You have no chance of escaping or stopping them.
Yeah.
They're
And-
willing to try this to prevent us from supporting the Hucks. What if this isn't effective? What will they do next with their airplanes hidden in the clouds? We've seen war literally for the existence of our country since the 1500s.
Much.
Fuck. Let's just not. I'm sick of this. I'm done.
And that's what it
Let's not
says
get
in the
involved.
Filipino Constitution, just at the very beginning. Fuck.
Fuck. I'm
Well,
sick of
fuck
this.
a Huck. I'm sick of this.
Oh, huck off.
They were driving around with planes, circling little villages, screaming, "Go huck yourselves!"
Huck sounds like fuck. Don't support them.
They're doing swears and also guerrilla warfare. So they were able to convince a bunch of people to not support the Hucks, and that's the power of advertising, baby. And all the other military officers, like PsyOps was new at this point. This was just after World War II. They thought it was like gay or something, and they made fun of him. Yeah, they thought that it was not manly, it was not honorable.
Using your brain? That's so fucking feminine. You must be gay.
Thinking, they gay.
Yeah, that's why women always dominated academia back then, right? Because, just thinking
Yeah.
it was so womanly and just...
That's true. It is. There were nothing but woman professors until like 10 years ago.
Totally.
So I spoke about the Evil Eye. They also did an operation where they infiltrated a small team into a village at night. And this was a village that had been, heavily supportive of the Hucks. And they went to the houses of people who were suspected of supporting them. And they painted, like, basically the evil eye on the fucking side of their house.
Everybody give the camera your best evil eye.
Wait, I know.
It's
That's pretty evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, staring upwards is very evil. Good work, guys.
Is it working?
And,
Did my pupils disappear?
It's because we're looking up at the planes that are screaming at us.
They did that to like 30 houses in one village. And again, it had a noticeable effect. People were intimidated.
Well, yeah.
First of all, because they're like, oh shit, someone knows that we support the Hucks. There's one thing that we all have in common, and it's our political views. And also because some of them literally believed that they were being cursed by devils.
Well, I mean, that depends on your
Even if it's
definition.
not devils, that's still threatening. Like, I don't know. I feel like if I woke up and got the mail and there was like an upside down cross of blood paint on my door, I'm not
Exactly.
superstitious, but I would not be a fan of that situation.
Yeah, no, I mean, and let's be real here. If we're talking about devils, I'd say that the CIA is pretty lawful evil.
I honestly think
Let's bring this
Early-
all back
early period CIA
to
is
Dungeons
like
and Dragons.
definitely chaotic evil.
It's always
This is very,
Dungeons and
very
Dragons.
chaotic vibes from this. Lawful evil would just be like repressing the population with patrols and stuff. Chaotic is when you fly up.
This is creative evil.
Well, that's
This is we're getting our brain
No,
juices
So
flowing.
like the CIA as a whole, lawful evil. The particular, Edward is more chaotic,
Big Ed Lansdale.
but he gets
is
the
very
job done. So it's like, you know what? We contracted this demon. He's working for us. We're the dog.
Yeah, he's working his 1,000-year
Clearly.
contract.
But and that's fuck him. But he was fuck a huck. It's working.
Yeah, look, if it walks like a huck and it talks like a
Walks
huck,
like a huck.
then
Talks like a huck.
paints
Paint
an
the evil
that
eye
huck.
on him.
Acts like
Scare
a
the shit
huck.
out of people.
And like I can't overemphasize like the hilarity. Like I read a little bit of his biography from the Air Force and some more stuff from the Army. I'll post the sources in the chat. The Army one sucks off Ramon Magsaysay, the shithead president of the Philippines, way too much. It's kind of gross. He was a bad guy, but anyway. This guy had like coffee sessions with top Filipino government people and military people, and they would literally brainstorm. He brought Los Angeles advertising brainstorming techniques to counterinsurgency. Like that is just government magic. That's American all the way through.
All right, guys. No bad
Emphasis.
ideas. No. We're
Seriously.
in the first step of brainstorming. So just say whatever comes to your mind, and then we'll.
What
start
if we
shooting-
turned huck into soup? Okay, let's try that again.
Okay, put that on the board. Get the
Put it on the
chalkboard.
board. Hey,
Soup
it's the
huck.
first stage. Nothing. No bad ideas. On the second stage, that's getting crossed out first.
Scare with ghosts. That's promising. Let's expand on that one.
Oh yeah, well actually let's expand on that one because we're not even to the damn meat and potatoes yet. At one of these sessions, someone mentioned their research into Philippine folklore and the concept of the Aswang. The Aswang is a Filipino myth or folkloric creature that's kind of like a ghoul or a vampire. And
Oh, it's a good ghoul.
there are like various different types of them that mapped sort of vaguely to like various European monsters. There are some that are like vampires, but they have like instead of sharp teeth, they have like a proboscis. They have like their tongue
Hell
is like
yeah.
3 feet long and sharp.
That's so cool.
Mosquito vampires.
They're like
my favorite
mosquitoes.
brand. I mean, it's that or
And,
scrape and lick.
No, that's more vampire bat. That's pretty lame.
That's what I'm saying. Is it like the vampires who suck with fangs? They suck. Proboscis, cool. Scrape and lick, cool.
I would just
I want to suck your blood, fucking idiot.
Well,
You
what
fucking
about
hug, that
juice?
guy
The
sucks.
juicing. Like you see all those fancy juice machines.
Oh.
Where you just sort of like let the drip get.
That would
going
also
and-
be cool. That would be
But they're-
a terrifying vampire.
And one of the stories about the Aswang is that they do the Juicero thing, but to people. They hang you up by your legs from a tree after capturing you in the jungle at night, and then they puncture your neck with their tongue, and they suck all of the blood out of your body.
See,
Like it's not
that's
even like a vampire where they
cool.
bite you a little bit, and it's kind of like a weird like Catholic psychosexual thing. Like they
Yeah.
fucking kill you and drink all of your blood.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
That's cool. That's
Like
trash.
like Dracula was scary, but all the other vampires that have come since then, based off of Bram Stoker's, most of them are just like, oh, look at me, I suck your blood. That hang
They're
you
all
up on a
emo.
tree
These
in the
aren't emo
jungle,
vampires.
Stab you through the neck with a 3-foot-long tongue proboscis,
Sharp tongue proboscis.
and then drain your dead carcass of its blood, so you are exsanguinated hanging by your feet. That's terrifying.
That's pretty metal.
And you don't even get revived. They just leave you hanging up by your feet
Yeah,
in the jungle.
fuck
That's
it.
pretty
We don't
fucking
Yeah,
make
like
you the
you're up there like
vampires.
fruit leather.
Oh, cool.
Just
It's not like, oh, you've been tainted by sin. That's boring. This, you're dead, you're pale, you are hanging
Yeah.
by your fucking feet in the middle of a jungle. Fuck
And,
you.
the vampire like represents the kind of Christian concepts of like being tainted by sin and like guilt by association,
Yeah.
and sort of like sex and stuff like that. These like Aswang monsters, the various different types, basically are like archetypes of like the opposite of Filipino values. So like they do like indiscriminate violence. They eat corpses. One type does that. They curse people. They steal bodies. Like they just.
well, I like Filipino
Yeah.
values because I really hate when people steal and eat bodies.
Steal
Yeah, no,
corpses, eat
seriously, they're
corpses.
big on not doing that.
Yeah.
The Filipinos have this big thing about not murdering strangers and drinking their blood.
Oh, it's just
You
it's
know
very
what?
it's very interesting, very unique.
I have the same value.
Honestly,
Yeah. I'm against that. In
Well,
most
aside from the not
situations.
drinking their blood, but yeah, everything else.
Well, I keep saying I'm gonna go like totally vegan, but I just love putting strangers' blood in my coffee.
There's just something
It just gives a
about
really good texture.
there's just something about hanging a stranger by their feet from a jungle tree and
Yeah,
stabbing them
yeah,
through the
and
neck.
I just
Bleeding
love
them
to
like
chow
a-
down on
like
drifters.
Abraham.
The blood tastes like fentanyl. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Is that Steel Reserve? That's a good feeling right there.
Oh God, no!
This doesn't taste quite so good. But ice, I'm not a
The
fan.
natty light blood college students.
Oh no.
Ugh. Yeah.
Okay, so Aswangs are actually like
They're
pretty
like terrifying
baller,
monsters.
terrifying monsters.
And these days, no one really believes in them. I don't think. I don't know that they were ever necessarily part of a religion, per se, but like they were viewed as supernatural cryptids. And back then, though, people were more ignorant. They were less educated, and they believed in them to a certain degree. So, they figured that they would convince the population of the Philippines that the Huks were associated with Aswangs because they were godless Reds.
And there's nothing the
Opposite-
godless
opposite of
Reds
Philippine
love
values.
more than cryptids.
Yeah.
Like it was the Lenin Mothman. That was an iconic duo. Stalin's Skinwalkers,
Yeah.
loved them.
Tried to breed Bigfoot.
Stalin skinwalkers. Please, the skinwalkers will be used to justify destroying the Native Americans.
The Ceausescu Jersey Devils.
The Ceausescu's.
Yes, he was his own.
This guy
Cryptid.
was, not so. Yeah, it's always satisfying to hear about someone getting what's coming to them. And
The West
Ceausescu
Germany Wendigos
Oh, that sounds like a hockey team that you just don't want to see.
does sound like a hockey team.
Everyone there is just there for the fights.
That's so
True.
German. We started playing hockey, but we don't really understand how to play, so we simply fight. That's the best part. The football hooligans.
Just
are
start
nothing on this.
hitting
It's the
each other
truest
with our
catharsis.
sticks.
We needed something to do with all of our football fans who kept fighting each other in the stands. So we brought hockey.
There are
And now we
55
can just punch each other on ice.
You wear pads, so it doesn't even hurt. It's great.
Germans on ice.
It's how we invented figure skating. We were just so damn good at it.
We like to call it
dancing
ice
instead.
boxing.
We dance.
Das,
We
das
dance.
Uber
We dance.
What
We
do you think the
dance.
name for ice hockey is? How many syllables do you think it is in German?
Like 37?
Well, ice is ice.
Eichenhoschenstein.
It'd be ice something spiel probably.
Eisgeschützen Bierspiel.
Ice
But
hockey.
isn't
in
Spiel
German.
music or something?
Ice,
No, it means play.
ice
Oh.
spiel, beer,
It's
schnitzel.
ice. It is ice hockey. It is.
No, it's not.
Ice
It's
hockey.
EIS. It is EISHOCKEY. It is
No,
ice
it's not.
hockey.
Ice
None
hockey.
of their words
Ice
for our
hockey.
stuff are normal like that.
It's
definitely-
fucking ice hockey.
not
That's
what
what
they
it
call it.
is.
Well,
Except
No.
for
You
kindergarten.
can look it up on Google Translate. It's ice hockey.
did you call it Juggle Translate?
It's one word.
Google Translate?
It's one word.
The Jewish version
And-
of Google.
And instead of our spelling of ice, it's their spelling of ice, which is pronounced ice.
Wow.
Aren't there
EIS.
S's Z's though? Wouldn't it be like eyes?
No, it's
Ice.
Ice.
Ice hockey.
That's hockey.
Ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
So speaking of asswangs,
Oh yeah, speaking of asswangs,
Aswang.
they figured that they could convince the Philippine people that the Huks were associated with asswangs, and so what they did, pretty fucked up. I'm going to quote
Wait a
directly from
second.
Lansdale's memoir, which is
Wait, can I guess, Jack? Can I guess for a second?
yeah,
I'm
no,
going to
speculate.
guess
Go ahead and speculate.
that they killed people from villages in the manner that Aswangs are said to do it, and then was like, look, the Huks clearly did this.
Close, but no cigar. Abby, do you
they
have
stole corpses to do it.
They ate corpses.
Okay, one correct, two no. Brad, you have any thoughts on this?
They scientifically created in a lab an actual version of this monster and set it loose.
Ooh.
Well, they had Hollywood come in and have the prosthetics artists, like the FX people, make a proboscis.
That's right.
Proboscis.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like
yeah.
hibiscus, yes.
A hibiscus, biscuit.
Tobuscus. Yeah.
We're so good at
A
Tobi- yeah.
Tobias.
Why did we choose an audio medium?
That's very Joss Whedon of you there, Brad.
Just sweet.
Do they do this in a cabin in the woods?
Yeah. Well, Cabin in the Jungle, really. But,
Yeah.
They actually released they took a guy who had been haunting a summer camp wearing a hockey mask and holding a machete, and they just set him loose on Mindanao.
They
This is
just
Bradley
put him in the
Whitford's-
costume.
This is Bradley Whitford's first job before he became Josh Lyman, and then before he went back to work in the cabin in the woods.
No. So, all jokes aside, I'm quoting directly from Lansdale's memoir, which is called pretentiously, "In the Midst of Wars, an American's Mission to Southeast Asia," which is just, for those
Fuck
of
it,
you
Doc,
who are
that guy's
listening at
dumb.
home, I'm doing the jerk
Yeah,
off motion.
yeah,
with
that's
Bro, yeah.
Oh, America the Beautiful.
Well, it's not even that. Like,
Influence of
he's just like,
history.
he called it his mission. These guys always have this weird religious thing going on with like, I'm on a mission to civilize the savages. Like William Colby, who was one of the founders of the CIA, thought of himself as being a holy warrior, which is just,
Of fucking course he did.
of course, exactly.
What a
Man, at least
jackass.
J. Edgar was just there for the power and the nudie pics.
The power, the nudie pics, and screwing over the gay people that he totally did not want to be a part of, but was.
Oh yeah. Well, he wanted like all the hot guys for himself, so you have to undercut the competition.
Was Martin Luther King the competition?
How do I
Oh.
secure the gay men for me? Well, I'll tell you, Clyde. We kill all the rest of them.
We kill the Batman.
The only way to make our
It's
relationship
simple. We
special,
kill
Clyde, is to kill the others.
Oh, so this guy is kind of like Bane. He's on like a holy ideological mission, and he believes in his job. J. Edgar was like the Joker. He was
Fuck
just,
it up.
Now I'm imagining just
It's not
his
about the
saggy
money.
face in Joker paint.
it would
You wouldn't understand.
I have a lot of files inside my jacket. We wouldn't
I
want
think he
these
would
to
be
go
the
off
Jared
now,
Leto
would we?
Joker.
No, he'd be Heath Ledger. He'd be like the weird, druggy, like stooped over computer neck guy.
So this guy's on a divine mission to scare elderly Filipinos.
Yes, he's on a divine mission to terrify the old people and the superstitious, not walking under ladder dipshits of the Philippines. And then also, let's not forget to help with counterinsurgency, which, you know, pretty bad thing. According to him, quote, "A combat Psy-War squad was brought in. It planted stories among town residents of an Aswang living on the hill where the Huks were based. 2 nights later, after giving the stories time to make their way up to the hill camp, the Psy-War squad set up an ambush along a trail used by the Huks. When a Huk patrol came along the trail, the ambushers silently snatched the last man of the patrol, their move unseen in the dark night." Real Assassin's Creed shit, right?
Sneaky.
They punctured his
Fancy.
neck with 2 holes, vampire fashion, held the body up by the heels, drained it of
Wait,
blood.
was he alive when this happened?
I hope not,
Probably.
but yeah, probably.
I mean, you
They
got,
probably
you
just
can't.
stuck a wallet in his mouth and just cut his neck.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Well, you can't kill him in other ways because then it's like I can't tell what killed him: the massive bullet wounds to the head or the puncture wounds in the neck, like a vampire. Also, wait, did they misread how Aswangs work?
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple types of Aswang. Some bite, but like the one that everybody knows is the proboscis tongue one. So
Like,
maybe
Jesus,
maybe they
fuck.
missed the neck the first fucking.
So there's no way to
steal a
proboscis.
guy and
How
kill
would you
him?
fake a proboscis tongue attack?
Ice pick.
You
Like a
thought this
long
through.
needle. Like you get a sharp hole, sharp
Literally
hole
just an
with a
ice
hole
pick.
in the middle, and you just there you go. You stab him. Fuck.
Trotsky was
They-
killed by an Aswang.
I
Yeah.
can't believe that they can't count in such a way that they were like, "Ooh, it's not." Whoa!
Dude, if they could count, they wouldn't be in the CIA. They'd have a real job.
Oh.
For a weird
I'm
reason.
kidding. They're all really smart. but it's
No,
a
not
real
that part.
job.
The part where it's like, "Oh, we fucked. Like let's put 2 puncture wounds." Like they have the guy and they stab him once. It's like, wait, I forgot. Were we supposed to do 1 or 2?
Let's do
Well,
two
I know
just
that
for like
vampires do 2,
balance
so
it
let's
out.
do 2.
Can you imagine him being like snatched in an expert op by like the 2 guys from Dumb and Dumber? It's like, wait, how many holes are we supposed to do?
Let's do 3.
Boss said 2. No, man, he said 3.
It's like
Fucking
he
Aswangs
said
only
1.
have 2 teeth, bro. Yeah, seriously. So anyway, this is
And they strung him up in a tree or what? Just
they
to
hung him up
justify him?
from a tree in the jungle and let him drain. And then they put the corpse back on the trail. When the Huks returned, I'm quoting back again. When the Hucks returned to look for the missing man and found their bloodless comrade, every member of the patrol believed that the Aswang had got him, and that one of them would be next if they remained on that hill. When daylight came, the whole Huck squadron moved out of the vicinity.
So it did work.
It worked, at least once.
Well, you know what? Aswang or not,
That's results. Those are California results.
The last man in your patrol getting like punctured and hung from a tree to be exsanguinated.
Yeah, actually, that would do it.
That would do. I don't need
For
to
any
believe
reason.
in demons and monsters to be like, fuck, we're leaving.
Personally, I would think it was a predator from the movie.
Yeah. Well, he still had the spine in him,
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
and also the movie hadn't come out yet.
Really?
Well, it wasn't the
Pretty
80s,
sure.
so
Was Arnold not doing his thing in the 50s?
before
Not
Arnold
quite.
Schwarzenegger joined Hollywood
There
and
is
before
no
he was a bodybuilder in Austria,
Arnold
he
is
was-
a colonel.
He was doing PsyOps
He was doing
in the
PsyOps for the
Philippines.
CIA in the Philippines in the 1950s.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting childhood.
Oh,
Never mind the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger was not the Predator in the movie Predator. He was one of the people who was, I think,
Fighting.
killed by the Predator
Yeah,
in that
he was
movie,
fighting
fighting
against
it.
Well, you know what?
he's
Rest
a
in
white
peace,
Medea.
Arnold.
He played everybody. He put on a muumuu to play the predator.
He was in every single. In any
You put a
Arnold
muumuu on to
Schwarzenegger
play the Aswang.
The only movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger that
Oh,
he did not
God,
actually
it was
play
J.
every
Edgar.
role was that movie.
Yeah, J. Edgar was the Aswang.
Yeah, just him and a muumuu just exsanguinating people in the woods. He's like, I love a tropical vacation.
He was probably quite good at sucking.
Oh.
Yeah, Edgar, you're not supposed to actually drink the guy's blood.
Why?
Getting into the role.
Why
Can't stop me
not?
now.
I feel like the best posthumous punishment for a person who probably hurt so many people to deny the fact that they were gay is to constantly call them gay.
Pretty much. If
Yeah.
he could hear this episode, oh man, he would have an epileptic stroke. And
Right,
die
like
instantly.
gay is not an insult, but to this guy it is.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
So-
like calling Ben Shapiro short.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Or
exactly.
Tom Cruise, calling him short, calling him sane, calling him put together human being, saying that he has a firm grasp on reality. Any of those things would really.
And because I'm also a Scientologist, I can talk about his thetans. Like, I can bully this guy. This guy does not have the favor of Xenu, okay?
Yeah, I mean, he has to stand on a box in most of his films, or they have to use Hobbit techniques to make
They
him look
literally-
tall.
They use the fucking techniques from the Hobbit movies to make him look like he's 6'5". in
Like,
every
like,
movie.
like if you cast
So great.
tall, like suddenly there's a huge price bump in production costs just by signing him.
Yeah.
Fuck it, never mind paying him, just for what you have to do
Just
from
to
a set
film him.
perspective. Yeah.
Honestly,
That's the
Apple
point.
boxes aren't that expensive. I mean, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, but like, wait, when we have a walking scene, is he gonna like?
Well, he
Yes.
was
You're gonna put a line of
Yes, that
I
actually
think-
happens.
I know, but like, it's still it's a funny image.
I know.
At that point,
Still
wouldn't it be more
ridiculous.
degrading to just be walking on boxes for the entire time you're shooting instead of just like owning up to being short?
He's such a narcissist.
Well, no, it's not just
No.
because he's short. It's because if you're too short, you're not in the camera angle. Like,
Yeah,
that's why they
he's
do
a
it.
Hobbit.
It's not
Like,
because
oh, no.
it's
I
not
can
because
say
he's
this.
too short and they wanted to make him look taller. It's because they need to get him in the camera shot.
The best
If
thing
I-
is that this guy is so insecure, but he works in Hollywood. Like, he's so insecure about his height. He works in an industry where every woman is at least 5'9", and
Yeah.
many of them are
Yeah.
like 6.5 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if
Actually,
I,
women are really tall, and he's so insecure about it that they shoot them for like kissing scenes like this far apart. It's
Yeah.
insane.
like, if I ever was able to make a movie and cast whoever I wanted in it, I would make a film where Tom Cruise plays a man of his actual height, and the counterpart is Allison Janney.
I
Because one, I'd get to work with Allison Janney, that'd be awesome. But also, I could show tall woman and Tom Cruise, and I would have it so that neither of their heads were in the shot.
Just be like a whole, just torsos.
Yeah, so it's just a torso.
like the
Well,
top
maybe,
of his
no,
head.
I would
with
get I
collarbone.
would get Allison Janney in the shot because, like, she's an incredible actress and deserves the top of his head.
I like the
So
idea
speaking
that if Tom Cruise has to talk, he has to like jump.
Yeah,
anytime
very
he's
right.
like
he's just, he's hopping like a
leave
fucking
this.
Boston Terrier on a fence.
yes.
I, 1, 2, 3.
All right, speaking of
man.
Aswangs, so what happened? So the Huck left the hillside.
Yeah,
Tom
so
Cruise left the building.
Tom Cruise has left the building.
I mean, Tom Cruise is only 5'7", which is not that.
Oh, that's not that
Yeah,
short.
that's
Not
average.
at all, but for Hollywood, that's like midget.
But
size.
like, fuck him.
that
like,
also
damn.
means that I'm taller than Tom Cruise, which is funny.
That also means that I'm taller than Tom Cruise.
It
I'm
means
not.
that on average, 50% of people are taller than Tom Cruise. I mean, that's not
Tom
quite how it
Cruise.
works, but
Owned by facts and logic. Yeah, this campaign was like pretty effective. They were able to do the Aswang hits on a couple of regions, and they also did this thing where they beat Hucks in a battle, and then they would just pile up their corpses on the crossroads sometimes, and they would like maim them and mangle the corpses up with like knives and hooks and stuff.
Did an intern do that? Like, did someone have to go find like the young guy working at the office, give him a box cutter, and be like, "All right, you know what to do."
You see, the best thing about having a comprador government of just idiot kleptocrats who are not in power because they're good, but they're in power because they're corrupt, is that there is an infinite supply of nephews.
Lots of
Oh,
nephews.
yeah, the
All
nephews
the nephews
are-
you can use. They
you
use
can ask
for
nephews
all
to
of
do a
this.
lot more things in that kind of government than you can in.
They have a nephew agency just to manage all the nephews.
Nephew placement program.
Yeah, that's
National
right.
Council of Nephew Affairs. They sat in on these brainstorming sessions, and they were like,
ONM, Office of Nephew
What if we had
Management.
ghosts in the sky?
That's great. That's great. Thank you, Ramon.
great.
That's wonderful.
Nephew
Yeah.
Ramon.
Amazing.
All right, Timmy, take this machete and go hack up the bodies at the crossroads.
Yeah, thank you, Dad. Thank
They
you.
need to be just recognizable, just barely recognizable.
I can take their eyes out.
So this is just like
Because
the-
there's a second type of Aswang that's believed in, which eats corpses. So they would do mounds of eaten up corpses on the crossroads.
Just imagining though,
People will
like a
find them in
body
the morning and say, "Oh shit."
with like a bite out of the side, like an apple.
be supernatural. It doesn't need to be fucking supernatural. It just has to be like, oh look, a mound of
Bodies.
of maimed, brutalized corpses.
Yeah, this is what
Let's
happens when you
leave.
fuck around. Yeah.
Whatever did this.
They
is
gave it a
still around.
fantasy angle, sort of like Game of Thrones, where it's gritty and realistic, but with a fantasy angle.
This is
This
not
is-
Game of Thrones.
it's
This
like
is
The Witcher.
The Witcher because this is
Yeah,
actually
it's like The
cool,
It's got
and there are
monsters.
interesting things happening,
Hot
unlike
takes.
Game of Thrones.
Okay, Game of Thrones is fun for realpolitik.
If you want
like medieval
realpolitik,
history,
read history.
like you both.
Like
but I want history to be fun.
we literally have a podcast.
Yeah,
that's
but
kind
like
of
history,
about
but
that
also
shit.
dragons.
Like
Yeah.
oh dragons
There are no
like
dragons in
3 of them.
history or an army of the dead in history. I mean,
Thank
come
you,
on.
Brad.
Well, there are Aswangs.
If you want dragons and real politics, just play fucking Dungeons and Dragons.
You say that, and now I'm imagining like a dragon flying over East Germany.
See, now that would add a
Real
whole nother
politic
level.
of the situation.
See, and that's the
How
thing
about
is that
each
if you
dragon?
really want real politic, then like set it in the real world and then just add in dragons. Dragons
West
just
Wing,
show
but with
up.
dragons.
Skyrim
I
style.
want to see President Bartlett get eaten by a dragon.
No,
wanna
no,
see
no.
them
I
die on
don't
screen.
want to.
They're walking and talking with the
I
dragons.
want
Oh,
them
no.
walking and talking about the dragon issue. Like with that Aaron Sorkin-y dialogue where and they're just like Toby
the
Ziegler's just
cocaine
like,
just
like he's going off like, well, what are we doing here? If we're not here to stop to fight dragons and stop
What
them
are
from
we
eating
here
people,
for? And
then
then
why are we here? And of course, there's someone in Congress who's holding it up for some reason.
oh, and then
Yeah,
President
yeah.
Bartlett, he has some sort of folksy wisdom about dragons, but then he just
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
eaten and it cuts
He
to
has some
black.
cool entrance.
I want to see that horrible scene where he quotes the Bible at all of the religious conservatives, and then like he just a dragon just busts through the wall and just like grabs him and shuts him the fuck up.
Wait, you have a problem with that scene? That's a great scene.
That's not how politics works. No
It's,
one.
it's not how politics works, but it's a great scene.
It's also lame. It's
How is it lame?
It's fiction,
It's just
Jack.
pointing
if you
out
were
all the
really
problems with
Christian,
the Bible.
you would not wear woven fabrics of different types, and you would not eat shellfish.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great fucking scene. That was really
Yeah,
cathartic.
Jack, I'm sorry late 90s network television isn't gritty enough for you.
I'm just saying, like, if a Terminator or some cyborgs broke in and the congressmen had to band together in a bipartisan way to fight
I'd
them
watch
with
it.
office furniture, that would be kind of
Well,
cool.
yeah, I'd watch that too. But let me tell you, that was a great scene.
Bartlett's character, I just don't like the show.
Bartlett's entrance was even
I like
better.
to
It's just
trigger you.
like like quoting the fucking commandments at reverence, who were getting the commandments wrong, which is great.
Oh, I thought you meant he came in just like touching his armpit. Which, for those
no,
listening,
I just have an
JD was...
itchy armpit.
Hello.
For a second.
Yes.
No, it's like
It is
it's
I, your
like,
president.
the first
Everyone.
commandment says
I'm
honor your
Snake.
mother and father. No, it doesn't. We're gonna get the commandments right. Well, then what does it say? Then off camera, I am the Lord your God, and the president.
Oh, I thought
walks
you were
in.
implying that you're off
No,
camera and you're God.
no.
Yeah, JD
No,
is gonna found a religion, so
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but I am not God in that religion.
Yeah, well, you could be.
There might,
Howard.
that
What's
religion
the point?
states that there may or may not be a God, but if there is a God, it probably died a long time ago as the universe tended towards entropy and disorder.
Jehovah's Witnesses. You're just a Jehovah's Witness. That's
Nope.
No,
because
but
we
they
celebrate
believe that God
birthdays.
left
Sorry,
heaven
isn't
in like
We
1983.
celebrate
1983.
birthdays. We're not Jehovah's Witnesses. And
Every
we don't
day?
knock on your door and say,
Every
Celebrate
day.
every birthday.
come on down.
Oh, I actually like when the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on my door.
Well, not these days
They're
during
nice.
the quarantine. It's like, damn.
Well, yeah, they don't do it anymore. But
Yeah, you can just
they're nice
cough on them.
guys, You know, just talk to them. I like to take their books. It's interesting stuff.
I really wish the Mormons would knock on my door one day. I'd have fun with that.
Mormons are cool, and their little pamphlets are sweet. They're pretty cool.
I would like a free copy of the Book of Mormon. If there are any Mormons in our audience, please come by my house and give me one.
Yeah, you can email us at crackopspod@protonmail.com, and you can send us.
It sounds
we'll
like
give
such
you
a
an
fake
address. We'll
email,
give you a
but
PO
that's
box.
our actual
Proton
email.
mail.
I used Proton Mail because I'm paranoid, but whatever.
I don't even
Fuck,
know what
that's funny.
I didn't even know what Proton Mail
JD,
was.
join me. And snort and adjust your glass.
Oh, okay. Well, look at you guys. Yeah, calling me a nerd because I.
+1 to intelligence, baby.
Oh yeah, Jack. You don't. Here.
Oh, look at me.
Yeah,
I'm
put the-
Jack. I look so stupid because I don't wear glasses.
Now I don't
look
have a
at, Look
nose.
at me with
Oh,
my
look,
20/20
I'm
vision.
smart.
I can see things. Oh, crazy.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jack. 20/20
Oh, yeah.
vision.
Isn't it great, Brad?
You know what? I like being able to see without help.
I can see. I
See,
drive.
honestly, I've got
see
probably
all
the
around
best
me. Yeah.
the best way to get bad eyesight in that when I'm not wearing my glasses, I can still see. Things are just a little bit fuzzy, so I get headaches from having to focus. But like walking around, driving my car, living in the world, I can do that. Just like looking at screens and reading, I can't.
Yeah, same.
Which,
Mine are kind of bifocals.
I can,
which is nice because it means that like, you know, I have access to all the ranges of fashion of both wearing and not wearing glasses.
I can wear sunglasses.
I
They
can wear
don't have
I wear
prescriptions.
sunglasses that I don't wear prescription sunglasses because I don't
Oh,
fucking
neither
need
do
to.
I. I remember once though. There's been a few times where I'm like at a pub and
the
I'm
pub?
trying to like read the menu, but I want to
Get
look
to
cool.
cheeky
So,
Nando's at the pub.
so I'm not wearing my glasses, and I'm there like, and the bartender's like, "Can I help you?" And I'm like, "I just want to be cool."
Aw.
See, but just by the fact that I have the went with like old man from Western State.
You have serial killer glasses. It's fine.
Yeah, you
Are
have
these
the,
are these really serial killer
Yeah,
glasses?
they
we
are.
have the same.
You wear 'em
glasses,
well, but-
as the Zodiac killer in the.
I just thought that they looked good.
You have David Koresh glasses.
Yeah, he has the David Koresh glasses.
See,
I don't
you're
even know who that
already-
is.
He's the Waco guy.
But apparently I wear them well, so I guess I'll keep wearing them.
And if you're gonna found a religion, you should have the Waco glasses.
it is true.
Yeah, you can have your own line of glasses,
And then
just
you can-
called Waco by JD.
And then you can move to Waco, Texas, and then it'll just, you know, be the trifecta.
Oh yeah, Brad, do you have any thoughts?
Are we done?
Are we done?
Are we, Jack?
Sure. I mean the Philippine Civil War, at least this one, lasted until 1954. Part of it was that public support for the Hucks was weakened by the American PsyOps campaign, which included other less weird stuff. But that's boring, so we're not going to cover it.
I mean, we pretended that there were monsters in the jungle. It's pretty.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
It's
all
metal.
downhill from
It's metal.
there.
It's
pretty
it's
metal.
it's horrible what
Why
we did to
bother with
people, but
this?
it's pretty
It's
fucking
like-
metal.
Oh, they started training the soldiers to not rape and steal so much. That's lame.
Well, that's great for morale. Hey, those soldiers won't rape me and steal things from me.
Maybe I shouldn't hate the government because they're not
Maybe
burning their
that's-
crops.
Now we're going from horribly negative to borderline neutral.
Yeah.
Yes,
went
bare
from-
minimums here.
Unlivable, corrupt, nightmare state to sort of daily. It's fine.
I like to imagine this whole thing, but it's like a Queer Eye episode.
Like this forest really needs some Aswang.
your public relations need better energy, okay? Here's what we're gonna do.
The vibes
We're
are
gonna
not good.
stop raping your people with the soldiers. We're gonna stop stealing from people.
We're gonna
And then
add
we're
monsters.
gonna capture some
Add
people on patrol
vampires.
and pretend that you murdered them with your folklore vampires.
We're also going to increase the size of the army by 1/3 and start actually winning battles. Whoa! Hey, think about that. That's what that U.S. tax money's for, baby. And so in 1954, Louis Theroux surrendered, and the Hucks were disbanded forever.
They got hucked.
They got hucked up pretty bad, and they had to huck off.
Yep.
And so after that, there was a short period of peace, and then a hardline Stalinist party formed and rebelled against the government, and that lasted until the 80s. Yeah.
They weren't Stalin.
And now they have ISIS. It's great.
Wow.
It sucks to live in the Philippines.
Everybody wants
bad
the
place to live.
Philippines.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it's beautiful land. They got good food. They got some
have-
cool music.
Temperate
It's also
climate.
just, it has a massive history of being contested.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Well,
it's just
the resource
history-
curse, baby. They have
history
minerals,
doesn't repeat, but
they
it
have
rhymes.
Tropical farmland. They have something that everybody wants. It's
I mean,
a
and
really
who doesn't-
rich country. It's
it's-
just the people who are poor.
it's like racing on, it's like doing a lap on Top Gear. It's like you probably won't get your name on the top, but like you want to see who you can beat
Yeah.
as far as being an insurrectionist state in the Philippines.
Yeah. Well, ISIS captured a city and they held on to it for a few weeks.
I did not know that.
Years
That's
back, yeah, they captured.
that's
Pirate
pretty high up on the
sharks,
list.
Wait,
That's,
really?
That's good.
In the
literally
Philippines?
an
Yeah.
ISIS
Wow.
affiliate. Well, there's a large Muslim population in the south.
Yeah.
And because they effectively crushed communism as an ideology to fight the government, it's like the Middle East. It's like the last standing ideology is either just the government.
Well, yeah, you
Fascist
abolish the
organism.
left, and then you get the weirder.
Well, not even
armed.
the left. They abolished like normal conservatives who were nationalists.
Oh.
And they also abolished the center, who
So they got rid of like all the normal ideologies, and
they
now it's
killed all
like
the
ISIS.
normal
And now it's
ideologies.
extreme
That's what
ideologies.
happens,
And
is
so
that
it was like,
you
okay,
start killing
Stalinism-
off your enemy ideologies, and people are just going to get crazier and crazier.
And that's why Syria is so fucked up right now, because all the moderate rebels died in like the first 6 months of the civil war,
Yeah.
and the only people left are fucking lunatics.
I mean, hell, that's
And
that's
also
happening in the
Kurds.
United States too, in a different way. Like the moderate centrists are getting beaten because they're weaker in their districts, and that's just pushing people more and more to fringes.
For some reason, like that song by "This Is Not My Beautiful House."
Oh,
This is not my
and
beautiful.
it takes
days
a
go
while,
by.
and the water. Yeah, I don't
Same
know
as
who
it
sings
ever
that.
was.
Same as it ever was.
Yeah,
Same
that's
as it ever
well, these
was.
poor Filipinos, same as it ever was, man.
Yeah.
I think the moral of the story is leave the Filipinos alone. If you see a Filipino person and you want to suck their blood or put ISIS on them
Or expropriate their land, labor, and capital.
or steal their bodies, just don't do it.
Yeah, don't do
I think
it.
that the real lesson here, though, is that if you really want to make some good money, dye your hair white, get cat eye contacts, buy 2 swords, and move to the Philippines when we're doing more PsyOps and just fight
Is
their
this
monsters
just your
as a
retirement
witcher.
plan?
Pretty much.
No, this is what I do. This is my night job. I
You go to the
Oh,
Philippines
yeah.
every
I
night.
I do actually have a group of friends that are jokingly convinced that what I do at night is I roam the streets of my college town and I fight monsters.
Well, yeah, it's a material.
But what you're
scientist
actually
too,
doing
right?
is playing Minecraft.
I even have fan art. Like for my
He's the
birthday,
Witcher
one of my
in
friends
Minecraft.
actually
That's right.
drew me fan art of me as a monster hunter.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's pretty fun.
I've got to find it somewhere. I don't know where it ended up.
Yeah, we should post that on our website.
Yeah, that's going on our social
Which we
media.
don't have.
Eventually we'll have one. Oh, speaking of websites, remember to follow us on Twitter at CrackOpsPod. Remember to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify,
Instagram also CrackOpsPod.
Instagram, CrackOpsPod. Did I miss any? We have like 9 different sites that we're on.
Just find us on the internet.
Find
and
us.
then-
There's only
Follow
one
us on
Crack Up.
any of your podcast listening mediums. We're on
Yeah.
most, if not all of them.
We don't play
Maybe even
favorites.
do 2. That way we can just pretend that we're even better than
That's
we are.
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Listen
I
to
mean,
them on every medium and follow us on YouTube and sub and favorite and like. It really
I
helps
mean,
us out.
I don't even
Like,
know if you have to, I
share,
don't even know if you have to watch
favorite.
them. Just
those numbers.
just download them. That's the statistic
That's
that we
right.
measure.
Apparently,
So.
people download a lot.
Yeah,
Instead of
just
listen
download
on the-
our
online.
download it, and then we'll feel good about ourselves.
That's
And
right.
that's
You
really
have
what
to
we're
listen
doing
to
this
it.
I haven't
for.
looked at the statistics in a while. I wonder if anything's changed.
Yeah, we're probably up past 1 million at this point.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
we're probably the biggest
we're just-
podcast ever to be created right now.
Yeah.
We should do a Patreon, honestly.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we have the followers now.
Yeah, I know every follow, every download, that's a tear that I don't shed. So make me happy.
and then JD can fix his water heater, maybe.
JD can finally afford a digital background to cover up the lamp. Cup full of crossbow bolts.
Oh, but those are the things we like to see.
Yeah, we love
Hey
it.
guys, we actually are. I'm checking our Spreaker stuff now. We are 3 downloads away from 100 downloads on Spotify.
How about that?
Yeah.
Woo, that's right.
So you could be the 100th download.
At the time of this recording.
Indeed. Which, when this comes out, we will probably have surpassed that.
Probably by actually a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
hopefully.
that's
You know, I like these. These are good headphones, but they hurt my ears.
I have something I
Oh,
wanted
I'm
to
just gonna-
share.
Those ones clamp down a lot.
I had something I wanted to share with our those for the visual learners of the crowd. This, which it's backwards, I know.
Live, laugh, yeet.
No, it's not backwards
But-
for me. I can read it
Oh.
good.
Oh, I can see it.
Sweet,
That's
yeah.
great,
So
man.
this is something that my sister made for me.
Thank you, sibling of JD.
Live, laugh, yeet, and it's beautiful. And I,
That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll post a picture.
I went
of
over
that
to
for
grab
you.
my copy of The Influence of Sea Power on History by Mahan. I work for the Navy, if you don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a boat boy right now, so
Little boat.
Yeah, you're in the Sea Org, I believe.
Yeah, he's in the Sea Org.
I actually really want to make T-shirts that take the Department of the Navy logo, but instead of saying Department of the Navy, it says Department of the Boats,
That's the Coast Guard.
and that's all of
Yes,
it. That's
Coast
all
Guard.
that's changed.
Well,
and then
if you join the Coast Guard and they reinstate the draft, you won't go into combat.
it's true.
Didn't the entire band Creedence Clearwater Revival do that? And
Probably.
I wouldn't be surprised. That's pretty much that. That's on vibe for them.
like seems kind of like a Coast Guard band.
Yeah.
It's the
That's
official
the thing,
band
though,
of
is
the
that
Coast Guard.
I probably wouldn't get drafted. I don't think.
I wouldn't get drafted either.
I probably would.
Yeah.
What's your excuse?
I have asthma.
Oh.
I think I could probably lie about getting asthma. My cardio's bad, so I could like pull it off.
Mm. But no,
Well,
that,
you
like,
know, if you need someone to shoot you in the foot, like, I'll do it.
Kind of fun.
Well, no, I don't have any thoughts.
There are things we know, but there are also the ones we don't know,
I welcome this kind of examination.
The power of the presidency doesn't rest here.
Covert operation. Grave danger to the civilized world.
You deserve the truth.